We'll go live. Well, hey, look at that. Just like that. Man, that was the fastest go live thing that I've ever had.
We might go live.
Yeah, we did. So I was like, hey, we should go live. I hit go live, and look at that. We actually went live. So yeah, very, very exciting. What's up, everybody? It is a new year, new us. Well, kind of, I guess. No, I'm not one of those people that says that. I've already broken all my New Year's resolutions. That's right. I was like, I'll give up.
That's why you make resolutions. You got to break them, man. Like right afterwards is what you got to do.
That's exactly what you do. You know what I mean? So here we are. It is Wednesday, Xbox Nation, first Xbox Nation of the new year, 2019. I'm very excited about this year. We're going to get a lot of news and information about the next generation of consoles. We're going to be getting a lot of game information, but very importantly, let me introduce my cohorts, my panel, who is missing Foxy. She'll be back next week. We got Mooch, who is probably going to yell, "What's up, Mooch?"
That's what I was going to say. New year, same old Mooch. He's yelling. I hope you guys had a great holiday, to be honest with you. It was a much needed rest. Me and Crap were talking about it over the holiday. I know he still did his show, and he did you did a couple like 1 hour, Crap and Friends.
Yeah, I missed doing the live show, so I did do like an hour and 20-minute show,
which was good. I thought that was great. It's a good way to reach out. I've always thought about doing that, and then I'm like, maybe we'll do that with the new year. But there's a new year. There's new talks of different games that are coming out, and the new consoles, and all the rumors are starting up. So 2019 should be a lot of fun for gamers, no matter where you're playing. Crap, I'll tell you something. I'm more pumped about going into this year than where we were going into 2018, because even though we had the X and the X was out there, that we were going to go through what we called a bit of growing pains, right? I mean, the growing pains were the X enhanced games, and then when will they bring the rest up to snuff and this and that, and now we're there. So now we get to enjoy and reap the benefits of the X while we sit here and wait for what will be now Anaconda, aka Scarlett. Hope Jamie keeps those the good gifts coming. But yeah, no, good to be back, and you have a plethora to talk about, so let's get into it, buddy.
Danny Adano, he's already there with the 2-spot, man. My first bit of donation in the new year. Appreciate it. Thank you very much. We've got Saltiest Gaming. What's up, bro? How you doing, man?
Hey, man, it feels like it's been forever. I feel like on a sports team, I got injured and had to, take some time off, do rehab, come back. But it's good to be back. The holidays were a blast. I was sick as hell. I haven't been that sick in a long time, but, I'm taking that vitamin C and we're on the mend, man.
I'm sucking on a vitamin C drop right now.
Yeah, man, it's hitting people hard this holiday in the winter, man. It's
crazy. I got this crazy Florida winters, man, 80 like 85 degrees. But then sometimes
and then the freezing 60-degree.
Well, no. Listen, it'll get down to we had 2 days where it was like 30 degrees or something like that. So 30 degrees, man. That's freezing. That's frigid here. That's like witch's
every day
right there.
Okay.
Hey, man, that's a you problem, my friend. Oh, let's introduce Xbot, who I was like, hey, Xbot, can you do the show? Because Foxy can't make it. And you're like, yeah, I was just planning to do it anyway. So I was like, oh, yeah, just go ahead, man. What's up, man? How's it going?
You can just ask Mooch. Once you get me on the show a couple times in a row, it's really hard to just let that be. I will be.
You're like the Herbs, right? Hard to shake.
Yeah, pretty much.
Gotcha.
I like to think of it as the gift that keeps on giving. But
that's the jelly of the month.
I was just gonna say he's like Cousin Eddie.
Guys,
exactly.
drunk it in, people. I am on Xbox Nation. King Neutral is here. What is going on? 2019. Let's go.
We're building an in-ground pool, Mooch. But Xbox can't swim.
Oh, he's like, I know that, Clark.
Drunk it in.
Yeah, I know that, right? Yeah. So yeah, you know what? Look, it's going to be a crazy year for gaming. I'm very excited about what's going to happen. I kind of want to talk about a little bit about this, though. Mikey Barra, who is doing stuff that we actually have been asking them to do for a long time now, and he's getting crap for it, right? So he got bitched at for saying Forza Horizon 4 should have been in the running for Game of the Year. Then he made a joke about VR and how it's not great, which is pretty obvious since Microsoft hasn't dropped their hat in the ring on that yet. And then in December, he caused more of a stir when he said he was relating a story. I was at a store and he's wearing an Xbox shirt, and someone there that worked there said they preferred PS4, and his response was, "Nobody's perfect." right?
Right.
Like all of a sudden it's like, let's fire. They actually started a petition to fire this guy. Sony fans did. Yes. One of the, I mean, there's not a lot of signatures or whatever, but the fact that somebody started one, yeah, the fact that somebody started one, yeah, I mean, it's absolutely asinine to me. You know what I mean? So like we've asked them to step up and be a little bit more proud of your product and be out there and outgoing. And he says stuff that we said, like Forza Horizon 4 was a great game. It shouldn't be distinguished because, oh, well, it's a racing game.
Yeah.
They shouldn't be in the running for anything but racing game, right? Like,
well,
I think that's sort of ridiculous.
Yo, crap, if that was the case, you know, when you look at it, God of War is just another action adventure game. That can't be it. You know what I'm saying? And not for anything. They're giving away Celeste as a game.
Woo!
And I just started playing it. And guys, you know, I'm going to play it for a while and stuff like that. But my first initial thoughts on this game is like, how the hell did this game get nominated, but a game like Forza Horizon 4 kind of gets snubbed? It makes like no sense to me whatsoever, man.
Monster Hunter got nominated, and I know, although I hear that's a decent game, like I don't really look at that as like a game of the year
I can
type.
see that more
game
than this game that I see on my screen right now, man.
Oh, Celeste, you're not allowed to talk crap about Celeste, but I mean, look, we all want Mike and Phil and these guys to step up and say stuff that they really feel and not be such limp dicks about everything. Here they are causing a bit of an issue because of this. Forza Horizon 4 should have been Game of the Year contender. Should it have won? Probably not. Most people agree that VR isn't great. I love VR, but I'll admit it's not great for the mainstream, and most people aren't going to like it.
Right.
You know, so I get it. You know what I'm saying?
Hearing Mike Ibarra say that about VR, though, it kind of puts things in perspective. And Phil said it about a year and a half ago with his interview, I believe, with Giant Bomb.
Thank you, Immortal. Real quick. It's awesome he said that. Microsoft needs to be more aggressive. 100% agree.
Yeah, and I mean, we'll get into Mike had quite the week on Twitter. But speaking about the VR portion of it, I mean, listen, I shout out to Colt Eastwood, who's doing a poll as we speak about, you know, what do you think VR as far as the gaming space and where will it be? He says, you think it'll always be in the gaming space? No, it won't, or who cares? My vote was who cares. But to be honest with you, I answered him back and wrote him on Twitter, and a lot of people are liking it, and they're saying basically what I said was it's kind of like buying a convertible in the Northeast, right? Like you go ask somebody, there are people in New York that have convertible cars. There's a number of them. But when you go ask those people, they're like, I love it. I love it. I put the top down. I like that wind through my hair. I love it. Ah! And you're right in your face, and you're like, all right. But realistically,
who's driving these things, man? Because
most of them are senior citizens, but nonetheless,
okay, yes.
I love it. I love it.
Hey, Mooch,
and I'm like,
I got a convertible. I live up north. Hey,
it's great. The wind through my hair.
Mooch, you should drive it with me sometime.
Every time I get in it. And
we'll put the top down, Mooch. It'll be great.
But, you know, I mean, realistically, that's what it is. You know, it's the convertible car of the Northeast. Some have it, but let's be honest, most of us don't.
Yeah.
And that's what it is. I don't think it's leaving gaming. I don't. I think it's going to be around, but it's literally that niche thing that if you like it, you like it. And recently I've been playing Astrobot, whatever it is, or Astrobot Traveler, whatever they call it. And
it's a pretty good game.
It's a good game. But I can't come home every night and be like, I can't wait to play Astrobot or play Borderlands VR every night. Like, you do it, you experience it, and then you know what you do? That's why they sell a stand. You play it, you put it back on the stand, you forget about it. And you know, next time a game comes out, you take it off the stand, you do it again. It's kind of like that fancy coat you go to dinner with, right? You got one fancy coat. You put the coat on, you go eat. After
you got
that,
you got one more fancier coat than I have, my friend.
Cannot wear that coat to work. That coat's meant for eating out. You know, so that's what this thing is. They sell you a coat stand for the VR unit for a reason, folks. So it is what it is. Don't get me wrong. So if you like it, it's not a bash. But let's be honest, you can't go out there and promote it. Go ahead, Salt.
I know. I was gonna say, speaking of fancy coats, hey Salt, do you hear these VR peasants over here talking about like PlayStation VR titles and stuff like that? Guys, I am in the household of the VR elitists now, with the Oculus in the house and the HTC Vive, right?
Wow.
So basically, I'm able to try out the best of the best. You know what I'm saying? When
you know what's funny about that bot though? Like the first thing I saw your wife playing was like work simulator.
Yeah,
how to make make food for people. I'm like, this is what it is, man. I was like, I joke about the hot dog making simulator. It's like, oh my God, you guys try that work at McDonald's simulator. It was so fun. I played it for 8 hours. It's like, well, go work there. I mean, it's better. It's better than VR. You know what I'm saying? So, but with the whole thing with Mike Ibarra, he's on the money, man. He should have said stay salty after the things he said, because he knew what he was saying. He knew that, people were going to get triggered, but he didn't get, give an F. And I like that. I like that he has the balls to come out and say what he really feels about VR and what he really feels about this and that. I mean, you can't walk this scared, line. I know he's up in the upper echelon of Microsoft and this and that, but he's still a human being. You know what I'm saying? He has his Twitter, and as long as he's not saying, derogatory things or racist things or this and that, he's just giving his opinion, which in some respects on social media, if you give your opinion and it's contrary to other people's opinions, they might put it up there with racism and this and that. You know what I'm saying? They want you to walk that line, but he's not going to do it. And I love it. And the whole thing with VR, man, let's pour one out for VR. I know a lot of people are hanging on to this VR concept for console gaming. Like the poll that Colt did was for gaming in general, and you have to throw PC in there. I can see it on the PC sides with, powerful PCs and the PC setup, but in no way do I see it going mainstream with console gaming anytime soon. And it's just not there, man. The power's not there. And I know that we're going to have more powerful systems next gen, but I don't see it.
Dude, when it comes to VR, I just want to say, with trying out, all these the Oculus and the Vive and stuff like that, and getting kind of like the premium experience, I would agree with Mike. There are some games that are really cool to play. I play like Paranormal Activity. I really do like that game. It'll drag down a little bit if you don't know exactly what your next move is and stuff like that. But when you see like game reviews for VR titles, and you see these reviewers, they're like, man, I got a solid 3 hours out of that game. That is a definite buy right there. Right then and there, if you're gonna make a game a high score for getting 3 hours of gameplay out of it, the content's not there yet. You know what I'm saying? And I think at its best, it's going to be its own media.
Here's the thing, and we keep forgetting it. And there's a handful. There's definitely a handful of games out there. One I'll just pick on is Resident Evil 7 Biohazard. That's a full game. That is a full-on, it's a game. But the rest of the things that people are like, Mooch, you got to try this. The majority of them are really just experiences, or they're jump scares. And a lot. I love horror movies. I do. I love all that stuff. I love that genre. I do. But it doesn't mean that I want to put, like, do you guys understand that? Like, let's say everybody in the audience right now is like, I don't know what Mooch is talking about. I love horror movies, and I wouldn't mind that. Okay, the next time you watch a horror movie, do me a favor. Go put your nose 4 inches away from the television set and tell me how that is. And so every time something happens that's a jump scare, your face is next to the screen. Like, you sit, 8 feet, 10 feet, 12 feet from your TV. And realistically, it's the headset. Part of it's the wires, but realistically, it's the headset. And I think that's what truly keeps the technology a bit niche, is because it's an experience. You put it on, and even if you're playing a game, you enjoy the game for an hour, maybe 2 hours. After you take it off, you feel like you just took off like this. You ever see the movie The Abyss with Ed Harris?
Yeah.
Where he's submerged underwater for like 6 hours and he's breathing in that like liquid. You take it off and you're like, thank God I'm back. And it's like, you take a second and your face, you look like you went skiing for 7 hours.
Well, you know what? I would never recommend VR for long periods of time. It's like, Mooch, me and you, I think we played the longest VR I've really done for the most part, which is we played that Star Trek game for a couple hours.
About 2 hours.
Yeah, and then you start to get like sweaty and you know what I mean?
Like, you know what it is? Maybe it's because it's a lot of nose breathing. I don't know what it is, but you get really dry. You're thirsty. It's a lot of nose breathing. And I think it's myself personally.
Yeah, the eye things fog up, right? Like, and I like VR. Let me be like, everybody knows that, but it's true. You're like, that things fog up and you're constantly
try sharing it. Try doing like I was doing Beat Sabers with the 15-year-old.
Yeah.
And I would do 2 songs, he would do 2 songs, and we would switch off back and forth.
Which is a fancier Fruit Ninja for you folks that don't know what he's talking about.
I want them to do a Fruit Ninja kind of like skin over it. That would be insane. But like after a couple rounds, all of a sudden my son is making the thing feel like the ring on a scuba mask. I'm like, dude, are you really sweating, or are you pouring water on this thing? I was like, I don't want to touch this anymore. Like, yeah. Well, he is nasty at that game, by the way.
That's hilarious. Hey, everybody hit that like button, share it out. Let's get started, man. Welcome us back to the podcasting front. Yeah, you know what? Once again, I think what Mike did is perfectly fine. He didn't do anything wrong. It's funny how hurt the PlayStation 4 fans are when something like this happens to them, but they're all for it when Yoshida's out there tweeting the difference between 720p and 1080p, right?
Yeah.
Or saying now 1080p makes you a better gamer, or when they're doing a snarky ass video where they're like, this is how you share your games. That's perfectly fine, right, everybody? Right? Yeah. That's just part of the game. Part of the game.
Real quick. I forgot to mention this when I was talking. Do you guys remember a sports game that won Game of the Year? Not in the division of sports and racing, because I know that's a division. I can't recall a game that's in the sports genre that won actual Game of the Year. And if that's the case and they slide the racers in there, it's going to be a tough way and like going for an actual racing game to get Game of the Year. Do you guys remember any kind of sporting game winning Game of the Year or overall Game of the Year?
No, okay. I don't. But see, here's the thing, when it comes to racing in sports, like, let's be honest here. Football, you have football stadiums, right? You can't really get creative. All you can do is duplicate kind of like the stadiums that they have. Same thing with soccer, same thing, with baseball and those stadiums. When you're talking about games that not only are great to play, but look good graphically. I mean, Forza Horizon and what they did with the scenery, with open world. I mean, you're not going to see that in a traditional sports game. So I have no idea why they're lumping them together like that to begin with.
The thing is like what I heard on Twitter, I've heard some arguments. It's like, it's a basic concept of racing. Even with open world, you're following this arrow that's pointing you around, and Forza Horizon is different, that it's open world, but it's still just a basic concept of having a car on a road or a dirt track.
Well,
like a line around.
Concept of having a guy with an axe who's following an objective.
Seriously. I mean, you could break it down, but for whatever reason, the gaming industry has lumped racing in with sports, and sports hasn't won Game of the Year. So a racing game will not win Game of the Year. It's just the way it is. It doesn't matter how good it is.
I'm just saying it's not right, man. That's all I'm saying. Like, I know what you're saying. Industry, and I agree with you on that.
It's weird.
But they're asinine reasons to lump everything together and to kind of keep racing out of like the Game of the Year nominations. It's asinine, absolutely asinine, man.
I mean, I think there should be special, special times when a game, if it excels in a certain way, that I wouldn't have a problem with it. I don't think every racing game, I don't think every Forza game has been worthy of that honor, but I think in particular the last two Horizon games have been really stellar games that probably deserve a nod at least. Like look, if Celeste,
right,
crying out loud.
That's what I was gonna say. I mean, getting if you listen to people that are in Hollywood, and when the nominations come out for either the Oscars or the Emmys, or it doesn't matter for the Grammys, people are honored by being nominated by the Academy. So it's an award in itself to be nominated. So I think that I actually agree with Salt's point. I've always been that kind of person. When the writing's on the wall, the writing's on the wall. So I agree with Salty on that. But I do agree with I like Crap's point there to wrap this up, is basically if you get nominated, they don't have to win. And that was the point with Celeste. Because when people asked about Celeste, a lot of times they were saying on the pre-show, I can't remember if it was pre-show or it was after, and one of the tweets from our good friend Jeff Keighley. But basically he was saying, that's our way of saying, indie games have a right to exist too. And this one excelled, and it was better than everything else. And a lot of us all play indie games, whether it's on Switch, Xbox or PlayStation. So realistically, I think that, for a Forza or any game that's a sport game, racing game, should have the right. Listen, if Overwatch can win Game of the Year, then you can't tell me that
any content, by the way.
Yeah, then you can't tell me that at least you couldn't nominate. And this isn't just for Forza, guys. This goes for games that are, if Sony blew everyone's doors off with a new, Gran Turismo, that's fine. They're everything's in the mix. So, I mean, I think that's the thing, and it is kind of a disservice to say. Also, when you're talking about Game of the Year, or you're talking about any of these things, just because you're in racing game category or esports or whatever that is, you should also be able to be nominated for Game of the Year. Like, there are things that win, like Best Narrative. It doesn't mean you're disqualified from Best Game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know why they don't share that. I think it's still a work in progress when it comes to the Game Awards, and that's pretty apparent.
Well, if you look at it, Overwatch won, right? And that's a game with only a multiplayer aspect. So things are changing a little bit. Then you look, what was it? That Walking Dead thing won 1 year. You know, like it's changing a little bit. I guess I would just like to see like a little bit more nominations and things like that. It seems like a lot of the games that Xbox excels at don't get a nod for a lot of those type of game awards because they aren't traditional. You know, it's like if you don't do tradition, you know, you're probably not really going to stand much of a chance. And I think that kind of sucks. But hopefully we do see a little bit of a change in the future with that, because I would like to see Microsoft be able to do that. Tyler Green, he says, I love how you say that PlayStation fans get butthurt when we show the flaws of their console, but it's okay for them to make fun of Xbox, and no console should ever never have VR.
Is that a double negative?
I think so.
I think he's saying that consoles should never have VR headsets, is what he's saying.
Really? I don't know. I think it should be an option. I don't mind it. It's the option for VR. I just think that you know, it's never going to be something that the mass accepts or wants. You know what I mean? Like, I love VR.
That's right, crap.
But I don't play it all the time.
Why shouldn't it? If it's an option, listen, racing games have a wheel, right? There's people who have a wheel and a chair and everything all set up, and good for them. I mean, I don't have that. That's just not my bag. But I mean, at the same time, right? But exactly. I mean, I'm not going to tell you that I think Xbox should have a VR. Sure. I won't probably. I mean, if it's gifted to me, sure. I'm not going to play that because that's just not my thing. But I don't think that it shouldn't be there. It doesn't take anything away from the other gamers, I don't think.
It comes down to first party VR versus, you know, third party. Like,
right.
If Xbox goes the route of saying, hey, we're going to do Oculus support, or, you know, HTC Vive or some other shit where they're doing the R&D and they're doing, you know, other people are making the games, I'm 100% on board with that. Right. But the PSVR situation where you're using money, time, dedication, because like that's their peripheral. So that's their baby. They need to make games for it. They have to support it. And that takes time and money and resources. And we all know how that worked out with the Kinect.
Right.
So I don't want any part of that. You know what
I'm saying? My Kinect is working again, people, by the way. Yo, thank you, Saul. Yo, Z Black Rider, I think he might be in the chat somewhere, man. Hooked me up with the adapter. I now have my Kinect hooked up to my Project Scorpio. Things are running smooth, man.
Just so you guys know, on New Year's Eve, the Xbot family, as we were counting down to 2019, everybody in his house yelled, "Yay, 2013, we're finally back." So
actually, I was playing Paranormal Activity on the Oculus, man.
Exactly. No, you know, listen, when it came down to it, I know crap, you have 75 topics, but you know the reason that I still have the Kinect in my house, but it's not connected anymore, no pun intended, but all I was using it for in the latter months of its existence was, you know, Xbox volume up, volume down, or Xbox on. Other than that, and I mean, you know, I don't know. Now you have 75 other things in your house you're talking to. Again, Microsoft was ahead of the curve on a lot of things. I think they should. I don't think Phil should have like disowned Kinect the way he did. I like how he took it out of the box. Make the SKU cheaper, great. But what they could have done, imagine this, folks, and I've said this on other shows, I'll say it again. Imagine if the Kinect 2.5 or the Kinect 3 came out in the midterm, right? As a separate item, and they could have made it a sleeker, awesome looking like cube. You know what I mean? Like, look at all these things they have now. The Alexa, they've got the Google Home, you've got this, you've got that, all these different things. If they made a better looking box that was smaller, more compact, like almost like the Apple TVs or something small like that you put next to your Xbox, you know, they could have made it evolve. But you know what? You know, shout out to Seth in the chat. He says Kinect had no games. That's the problem, Seth, because Salt's right. You know, when PSVR, Sony has a lot of games for maybe they're utilizing their sources in a different way, but they do have games, and Xbox didn't have any Kinect games.
Dude, as soon as I can, I'm getting Kinect Sports Rivals again. I thought I bought it digitally.
It was a good game.
But I didn't. So as soon as kind of like, you know, the aftermath of the holidays, because, you know, oh snap, she buys the presents for everybody and stuff like that. As soon as the aftermath kind of dies down, I'm going to be looking to get Kinect Sports Rivals again, possibly live stream it as well. So
it's a fun game, but again, it was like I used some footage from Kinect Sports Rivals, the wave race game. And everybody always messages me, "What game is that?" I'm like, Kinect Sports Rival. Oh, you know what I mean? Because it's such a fun game.
Yeah.
But why not give people the controller option? You know what I mean? Like, to me, it doesn't really make a lot of sense. But I like that game. But this particular Kinect did not have a lot of games like the 360 Kinect did.
No.
And the 360 Kinect games had games because they canceled the hardcore games and made Kinect games instead, which is the wrong thing to do, especially when you're, the leader to the hardcore fans,
Ooh, Fantasia, too. That's another game.
Yeah, good games. Okay, so somebody tweeted this earlier, and somebody was talking about it in the chat. Project Cars Studios, Slightly Mad Studios, working on their own console to compete with the PS5 and the next Xbox, a standalone console to rival high-end PCs. Obviously, they're known for Project Car Series and Need for Speed Shift. They're working on a video console of its very own. According to Variety, Slightly Mad CEO and founder Ian Bell announced this mystery console, the Mad Box. That sounds terrible, by the way. He promises 4K visual, 60 frames per second with VR support, and a free game engine available for all developers. He clarified that the Mad Box will be a standalone system separate from Xbox, PlayStation, and Nintendo. However, it will be a console, as is the Xbox or PlayStation, affirming that the studio's intent is to challenge the titans of gaming hardware. Despite its proposed performance, which would require powerful and expensive hardware, Bell said Mad Box pricing will be competitive with upcoming console prices, whatever those turn out to be. He says, we think the industry is a little too much of a monopoly. We think competition is healthy, and we have the required hardware contacts to be able to bring something epic to fruition based on our designs. According to Bell, the Mad Box is still in pre-production when Slightly Mad Studios currently hashing out production and other logistics with multiple potential partners. He said Mad Box will release worldwide, including in some areas that are, let's say, not particularly open to other vendors at this moment. He also said it'll launch in around 3 years and described it as boasting specs rivaling a very fast PC 2 years from now. So
I think this is where that Seinfeld episode came in, crap, where it goes yada yada yada. It was, it never was.
Yeah,
so
exactly my point.
So listen, here's the problem with all this, and good for them. Good for the gentleman that made that speech, that wrote that. Good for them, right? But here's the problem. If Valve couldn't do it with a Steam box, this guy certainly can't. And here's the main reason, folks. The main reason is first-party studios. And if you don't believe me, that's why Microsoft just went on a spending spree. And Sony has the ones that they have and are buying more. And that's why you see people like companies like Google and Amazon buying other little companies up. Because here's the problem. So I'm not doubting that he maybe has investors and they could put some sort of hardware together, right?
Sure, yeah.
Sure. But the problem is you go buy that box, and unless he's going to undercut Microsoft by $150, he's not going to, by the way. What are you going to play on that you can't play already on the Xbox, plus all their games, plus all Sony's games? It's just, this is the problem. I love where he's going with the capitalism and saying competition's good, because he's right on all fronts. Unfortunately, it just doesn't hold water because he can't compete. Listen, you know what? And people would easily say, you're right, Xbox. He can't compete. I don't think he can compete monetarily, but he definitely can't even compete on the software front. That's the problem.
Well, Go ahead. Okay, so first of all, like when Xbox was getting into the game, Microsoft specifically, they knew they were going to get a loss, right? They knew that first generation was going to be at, semi-loss, and it was a huge risk. But they knew they were willing to take the risk and the losses to be able to get into that ecosystem, and they had the funds to back it up. This Slightly Mad, and never heard of them. I don't know what their backing is, but
Project
they're about
Cars, baby.
Yeah, they're about
to
make
the two worst racing games I've ever played.
It's like, if you can't have the best racing game, then what makes you think you're going to get in with the big boys in the consoles? They're about to be slightly sad, if you know what I'm saying. But
that name, box.
that name is dumb too. I mean, go back to the drawing board with that. The Mad Box. I mean, that sounds like something you buy off a street corner at like some black market vendor. It sounds like a Soldier Boy console.
Sounds like a second.
Damn, man! Zing taken on Soldier Boy's console too. What were you saying, Xbot?
No, I was going to say, when you were saying about the name, it sounds like a secondary peripheral, kind of like when Mad Catz was making like controllers for the 360 and stuff like that.
Mad Catz had some of the worst controllers ever.
Yes.
my buddy Grave had a Mad Catz controller, and it made his mic sound like he was farting every 2 seconds. So we made him go get a different controller. Yeah, true story.
But,
Those things are terrible. Go ahead.
When it comes down to Slightly Mad, though, I want to know, like, I would love to know what their idea of like success would be, because I believe they can't come in with, you know, their very first ever console and automatically compete with the big boys here, compete with Sony, compete with Microsoft and stuff like that. But if they have what they call lowered expectations, and
I hear you, Mad TV for the Mad Box. Got it.
Well, I mean, let me say this much, Xbot. Timing's everything in life, and you're telling me that these guys want to come in at a time where, and I know I'm not changing the subject, but we're coming into a time right now where in the next 5 years we're talking about streaming a lot of games. These guys are talking about in 3 years they want to compete with 2, 3 companies, being Nintendo included. Absolutely include Nintendo. Like, you want to compete with those guys? Like, are you? It's kind of it's suicide, to be honest.
But Mooch, the bigger suicide here, when you think about it, is, you know, Amazon and Google are looking at this space as well. Like, when are they going to decide that they're really going to jump in here?
They're jumping in on the streaming digital front. They're not. I don't think they're jumping in with a console. I don't think that's where they want to go. That's my whole point. So you're going to have Microsoft, Sony, Nintendo that are going to do the streaming as well and provide hardware. Mm-hmm. Then you have the mega companies like Google and Amazon that are also going to provide gaming through streaming. And now you're talking about this guy. You know, he's basically, I don't know where he's getting this funding from. And why would you? I wouldn't even put a quote out like that. First of all, it's 3 years. I love his spirit. I really do. I love his capitalism spirit. I do. And bravo to him. You need a lot more entrepreneurs like that. But I do. But good for him. But at the same time, I would also like to sit with him and say, you know, maybe you should invest it somewhere else. You ever hear like coffee's doing really well right now?
Check this out, man. If you're a developer, you can make an exclusive game for the Mad Box, and they'll give you the engine to make it, man.
Microsoft will give you
that Project Cars engine, buddy.
Jeez. Well, hold on. Shout out Immortal. He says, Happy New Year to the panel. Great to see you guys again. I hope everyone had a great holiday. Thank you very much. Hopefully you guys all had a great holiday. Hit the like button. Let's see if we can't get up to 150. Now, here's what he tweeted, Ian Bell on Twitter. What is the Mad Box? It's the most powerful console ever built. It's literally mad.
Oh my
you want
God.
4K. You want VR at 60 frames. You want a full engine for free to develop your games on it. You have it. Okay, here's the problem.
Like somebody's 6th grade project and they're giving their spiel.
Seriously. Here's like one of the numerous problems with this. You go into a store, you're like, what should I get? An Xbox 2, a PlayStation 5, or the Bobo box? Nobody's picking up the Bobo box. I'm sorry. They're not doing it, right? We all are bitching about exclusives, right? Microsoft just got 7 new studios. What do these guys have? Oh, well, in the future, we're going to have Project Cars 15 exclusive to the Mad Box. Nobody cares. Like, who cares? It's the worst game ever.
We just said racers aren't even allowed in the best game of the year competition.
Exactly. So what are they going to have? They're not going to have anything. This thing is a disaster and will probably ruin this studio. I actually feel bad for them. I absolutely feel bad for them.
I'm at a point right now where it would be interesting. Usually Salt's the one that does this. I don't even think this thing will come to fruition. I think this thing will, you know what I mean? It'll die on the drawing board.
I was going to say this. I think this is a PR stunt, man. If I had to read between the lines, these guys are like, let's come up with this idea, right? It's going to be so crazy and people are going to go crazy with it and they're going to start talking about it and give us free PR and get our names out there. I never heard of these dudes. Like, I've heard of the games they made, but I didn't know their name.
No,
now their name's out there, you know? So
that's exactly it, you know? And shout out to Mike G in the chat. I was going to say this, you know, they're offering their engine, you know, Epic. You go to Epic, you can have their engine for free too if you sell on their digital store.
Which is the Unreal.
Yeah, the Unreal Engine, which everybody knows it. And the Unreal Engine, I'm not going to say it's a household name, but in gaming, it's a household name.
It's a household name.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's something. I don't know. I really think me and Saul throw on something there. I think it's a publicity stunt. I think it's something that'll never come to fruition. I think it gives them exposure. I mean, these guys are sitting in a garage right now putting together a couple of Mad Boxes, listening to It's a Mad World.
Well, no, they do help. They help when it comes to like car simulators with different companies like Porsche and Lexus and stuff like that, so people can test drive vehicles without actually risking a crash and stuff like that. So they do dip their hand into the hardware as well as the software development. They have partnerships with AMD, with Intel, with NVIDIA. So they have branches and avenues where there is a chance that they're going to come out with something.
So here's the deal. If anybody was going to get into the game, you would think Epic would be that player, because they have the connections and the Unreal Engine and the money. They're raking money right now, and they need something to do with it. So if like
$3 billion, by the way, off of Fortnite.
If Epic wanted to come out and said, "Hey, we're coming out with a console," I would kind of, I'd be like, yeah, they have the backing, they have the funds, they have the resources, they have everything they need.
Box.
Yeah, so and they call it something less stupid, right?
Yes. Well, again, again, they're a software company too, so they could make games, and I think that's something that these mad guys are mad, like they're crazy. Who the hell makes a game console? And you have like one studio that makes car games, and they're poor car games. Not only that, but this studio had to raise funds through like Kickstarter to get their first racing game even made. How are they going to do this? I don't know if this game is going to really release. I'm not really sure.
And no one really cares. Let's be real.
Yeah, I don't think anybody. Why would anybody care? Right?
Yeah.
Like, and they're calling it the most powerful game console. Like right now, the Xbox One X can do 4K 60 on some stuff. Right? What do they think the next Xbox and PlayStation 5 are going to do?
And we're supposed to be excited they're coming out with it in 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in gaming, and listen, gaming's become a lot like sports. Sports.
Yes.
It's been what can you do? What have you done for me lately? That's where we're at right now. And if you don't believe me, my God, 2013 feels like a millennium ago, right? I mean, it feels like forever ago. And we're in the same generation. We're still in the same generation that feels like forever ago. So these guys coming out and being like, we're going to give you 4K 60 in 3 years and pay no attention to this ad. What?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's like that's ridiculous. And I mean, here we are. We're talking about, and I know you have it on your list, Crap. Maybe we can go into it if you want to. That there was another developer or another person in the quote unquote no. I think some of what he said was right, and I think some of what he said was wrong about what kind of RAM and things we're looking forward and having on Scarlett and PS5.
8 to 12 gigs.
Right. Well, and that's and the actual, and then there's I don't know if you want to segue into that or not. I'll let you do that. But I mean, like that's where they're heading. So it's not just about GPU, CPU anymore. It's going to be about memory and other things. And that's where things start to get expensive. And then you're talking about cooling these machines. Okay.
Yeah.
And that's where Microsoft has, I would say, somewhat of a leg up. They have that amazing technology that they put into the X that keeps the machines cool, and they crammed it into such a small box. And that's something moving forward they can improve over the years. There's no way that Garage, the Garage company of Mad Cats or Mad Box is going to be able to do that. So they don't have the know-how or the people power. So that's where you go. I just can't get excited for something like that. To me, it's literally false propaganda, or it's I don't know. I don't even know how it made mainstream news with all this news that there is to talk about.
I know, right? Like that. I surprised because he's like 4K visual, 60 frames, but we're still 3 years out.
Hey,
Yeah.
Crap.
You know what I mean? Like, yeah. What's up?
I was gonna say, can I go a little off topic since we're talking consoles and like kind of like, we're talking the Mad Box, but we're also talking like PS5 and the next Xbox and stuff.
Yeah, shoot, man, go ahead.
One of my friends, one of my YouTube friends, Foxy Games UK, he's known for having an ear on the PlayStation, kind of like Heartbeat and stuff like that. He knows a couple people within Sony that he talks to, and I know this is true, right? He was talking. He just released a video today, and he was talking to one of his kind of like insiders, and his insider, right, is starting to talk about, in terms of the PS5, that T-flops don't necessarily mean everything. In other words, there's so many other things that go into a console to give you a rich experience and stuff like that. To me, it sounds like Sony knows that they are not going to have the power crown going into the next series of hardware with the PlayStation 5 and Anaconda.
Maybe they're going to have a secret sauce, man.
Secret sauce all over the console.
Like, who was that guy, Mooch? We had him on your podcast one time, and he was like, Xbox One is 5 teraflops, and you're going to be able to do VR on it and all this stuff. And
I
it
can't
was
remember
pretty,
who that was.
dude. What the hell's that guy's name, dude? I can't even remember his name anymore. But it was funny as hell.
What were the stats again, Crap?
Dude, he was that guy. Remember, he went to E3 and these dudes paid for it through the Mr. X deal.
He was that guy that when he saw that there was that guest, Crap was like, "Why do you have him?"
Yeah, I forget his name, dude. I totally forget his name. Like, but it was hilarious, dude. That was one of my better episodes on your show, by the way.
Oh yeah, dude, that was crazy.
Yeah, that and Johnny podcast always a fan.
Oh yes, always,
who
always.
Who can
fan
forget
favorite.
those Friday nights?
Exactly, Johnny Pete, man. He's always requested there. Hey, almost 500 watching. Hit the like button. Appreciate it, you guys. You're showing up in forced, and it's very much appreciated. So yes, like Mooch says, according to this developer who has worked for Activision and Ubisoft, he says that only 8 to 12 gigs of RAM are going to be used for next gen consoles. Mooch, what do you think?
Well, here's the thing. I like I'm saying, I think that you're going to get a little bit of. I think you are going to get 8 to 12 RAM. First of all, I want to talk about that part of it. But people are also saying that we're going to get a little bit more than that with something that a lot of us don't talk about, which is VRAM. So that's like an additional boost. They're saying there's going to be, upwards of 16. Now we could be talking 16 to 20.
Yeah.
Not all again, that's including the VRAM.
Yeah.
So I mean, take that with a grain of salt, folks. It's all I heard this from what Crap's reading about.
Like 8 and 8, like 8 gigs of regular RAM, 8 gigs of VRAM. And
yes.
I'm not sure.
And if Microsoft really wants to flex their muscles, look, Mike Ibarra came out when the X, came out and said that we're trying to give our developers as much of that as possible, and they went from 8 to 9. I think right now, don't they have 9 available right now on the X? And I think is that true or is that not true?
What is that? My headset went out for a second.
How much RAM is available on the X currently?
Don't they give them 9? Like
9 is what I thought the number was from Mike
gigs.
Ibarra. If I'm wrong, I apologize. But nonetheless, I know that Microsoft.
There's 12 gigs in there, and they give you 9 to developers.
I think they want to give the developers 10. I think they want to give them 10 to 12 on the RAM straight up, and then they would do the VRAM, which would be an additional 8 or something like that. My point being is that's what's going to make these next gens so magnificent. Both of them
for the larger worlds and stuff like that, right? Like it makes the most sense to do that. I'm also thinking, even though the Don's not here, we might not get the forward compatibility that a lot of people were projecting, right? And reason being is because it looks like Microsoft is going to slowly back off the other consoles that they're making and have like a true next gen successor. And if you have a different CPU and stuff, isn't it harder to sort of do the forward compatibility and stuff like that?
They're pretty much in the same. Like I'm not sure. We do got to talk to the Don on that. But when it comes to forwards compatibility, I'm hearing what you're saying, and I'm looking at this in terms of the 4 different SKUs in 2 years and all this stuff, and I'm like, are they going to do it? I'm still going to be in the camp that they are still going forwards compatible.
They're going to listen. They're going to do it. And Crap, to answer your question, we know this, and the Don will speak to it better. That's his profession.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you right now, just in layman's terms, we all know that. Okay, use an example: Sea of Thieves. They made Sea of Thieves so it could play on a potato.
Yes, they did.
Right. So they can scale up and dumb down whenever they want. So once the software reads, where it's playing, it knows how to handle that hardware. And we're dealing with that with the X, and you're going to see that more and more as you move forward. Like the minute, Crap, and I know we all, including Xbot and Salty, have our PC sarcastically.
Yes.
But nonetheless, when you buy any sort of game, it's not like I pick the game. I don't go, no, I want the Destiny 2 on the top shelf. I have a nice PC. No. You buy the game, and then then your hardware, it tells you what you're capable of. My point being is this: we have to stop with the mentality of games are not going to be brought up or back or not put to the power of or the potential of the hardware because others aren't buying them. I've said this a number of times years ago. Me and Xbot had great conversations over the years on this, and I hate to say it, Xbot, but I believe I was right. When you have, listen, you can go to the same car dealership. Heck, we can buy the same chassis, the same car, but you have a faster engine. It doesn't mean that we can't both peel out with the same type of car. That doesn't stop you from doing that. You got to use better octane gas. That's a you problem, you know? But I mean, at the same time, we have the same one. And if somebody's not a car enthusiast, they think we got the same car.
Well, Mooch, the only thing with forwards compatibility that I'm thinking it's still going to happen is because even with the X, you know, we had this whole thing this generation where people are like, well, what about parity, you know, between the Xbox One S and the X and all that good stuff. And you had people from Xbox saying, you know, for the most part, they are going to be, you know, comparable. Now, there's no parity when you move up to Scarlett to go back to the X on. So they can, you know, take away foliage, they can drop textures, everything like that, just to have games run on the X. And it definitely won't be that premium experience, but it's like, hey, at least it runs on the machine. You know, if you want the premium experience, and you should probably upgrade. You know what I'm saying?
Well, that's the beauty of where we are right now. That's what Twitter and social media, Facebook, the fact that we can post pictures from our games. And you know, Xbox, me and you, I'll throw myself in there, okay? I'll throw me and you in there. We're both guilty of this, okay? Where you're like, I don't want that game. Then all of a sudden the game comes out, and this person's posting a picture. This person's posting a picture. This person.
Like if your grandma used to dress you up as a cowboy, so
and then all of a sudden you want to be a cowboy. That's right.
Yeah.
Right? So, dude, I'm going to come out with my own video. Like, no, I wasn't dressed up as a cowboy, man.
But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people out there that are like, I'm not going to upgrade. Screw that. And then what? You see them like 3 months later, and they have the Xbox One X with their seatbelt buckled over it, going home with the new mission.
Yeah, but see, Mooch, the thing is, the forward compatibility is not for those people, though. It's for the people who, you know, the families who have the Xbox who really can't afford to upgrade. They can still kind of get the games.
It's not necessarily about afford or not. Here's the thing: if a game comes out and Microsoft lets the X, you know, be able to play the game's forward compatibility, they may feel that they just don't need. Right now, the X is doing 4K 30 on most titles, okay? Or it's doing pretty damn close. For some people, that's more than enough. There's a lot of people that we all podcast with and that are in the chat, and they're like, listen, I'm enjoying my X, and I'm playing on a 1080p TV. So that's fine.
Me.
Well, that's fine. Me. That's fine. Listen, you're a consumer as much as I am. So you can do whatever you want. But what I'm saying, and I had this conversation with Crap years ago, is if I want to upgrade, why can't I?
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Back when I was all like, screw upgrading. Why are we got to buy new consoles every 2 years?
I was Frank Costanza's lawyer. I had a cape on that day.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, it was Cape weather.
It was. It is Cape weather.
Very breezy.
We're not even allowed to like that show anymore, Mooch. What are you talking about?
I know. Yeah, you can't enjoy Seinfeld anymore.
Yeah, you can't enjoy anything. Go ahead.
With this whole RAM situation, I think a lot of people aren't going to understand what RAM is even, but like it's important to realize if we're going this route with performance and trying to compete with high-end PCs, you got to have the whole puzzle. You know what I'm saying? You can't be missing pieces of the puzzle and expect it to run the way you want it to run. I mean, is RAM the most important component in a PC? I mean, no, not really, but it's part of the puzzle. It's part of the engine.
Motherboard, CPU. You have to have everything together. So well-oiled machine, man.
The RAM and the VRAM, you know, it's important. And correct me if I'm wrong. The reason why the Xbox One X can have those 4K textures has to do with the amount of RAM that is in the system compared to other systems, right?
Yeah, it's also like the level, the speed at which it can like transmit it or whatever as well. Also, the more RAM, the better our experience with the UI should be, right?
Exactly.
Like, the UI is like, I don't know. It's like I was looking at the UI from a first-person perspective. Like, if you didn't know anything about it, that is the biggest mishmash of bullshit in the world. That UI is just like I don't even know where to begin. Right? Like I'm used to it because I've had
that realization as well, Kraft.
Yes. You try to set because I was setting up an Xbox as a Christmas present for somebody, right? An Xbox One S, and I was like, I can't find the pins. I was going to pin some game, you know, because you're supposed to update it and put, you know what I'm saying? So I was trying to be nice and do all that kind of stuff. And I can't find how to pin anything. It's like you can add it to the front, I can't even figure it out. I'm Crap Gamer and I can't figure it out. You
Why?
know what I mean?
In your groups, there's a group called Pin.
Yeah, when it says add the group, he's right. You add the groups. One of the groups is Pin. So you just hit group.
You shouldn't need a book to figure out how to get to things. You know what I'm saying? So why does Microsoft, they specialize in software, right?
Right.
And the UI on the Xbox is horrible. It's laggy. Yeah. It's not fast. It's not utilizing the power of the X. That's for damn sure, because it's laggy. Like, what is the issue here? Like, are they just waiting for next gen? They're just gonna be like, oh, this is a wash. This is just not what we want. We don't want this shit anymore. So we're just gonna go to something completely new on the new system.
Dude,
or what, you know?
So what happened? You know what happened? This is what happened. Like, a couple years back, Microsoft and Xbox, they're like, we're listening to you guys. What do you guys want? And all of a sudden, everybody came in, whether they owned an Xbox or whether they strictly owned a PlayStation. They all chimed in on what they wanted. Yeah, get rid of this feature. You know, you had Pony saying that because that was a feature that wasn't on the PS4 and stuff like that. And before you know it, they're great at developing software. They're great at developing a UI, all that good stuff. But they're trying to do so many different things from where it originally started that you end up with like ground beef for a UI at the end of the day. It's exactly what happened.
Because you guys remember 2013, man. Oh my God. Like, it was the tile stuff for like the Windows phones and stuff. And then they kept updating it. And all of a sudden, no more updates, no more questions. They're like, this is what you get. It doesn't matter if it's laggy. We're moving forward. You know what I'm saying? It's just like Upload Studio. We're not talking about it. You know.
Well, I'll defend part of it, Salt, even though I know exactly what you're talking about, and you're spot on. Here's the thing, and I know, we're in the generation of options, folks. Again, if you like to drive down the street with the windows down and your air conditioning on, good for you.
Go for it. Yeah.
Right. But at the same time, I got to be honest with you. This whole thing where Microsoft's like, tell us what you want, and we'll give it to you. That's a
Spice Girl song.
Gotta
tell
end,
us what you want,
right?
What you really, really want.
Tell us what you really, really want.
Yeah.
It's got to stop. Here's the thing: Sony doesn't ask you how you want your UI to look. They're like, "Here's your UI." You know what I mean? It's a spoonful of medicine. So my whole point is that, like, I think Microsoft doing that with games or figuring out how you like, your controller, because the controller is all about the user, and the user interfaces too. But to a certain extent, you have to go out there, make a hell of a product, and put it out there. Constantly changing it. I've said this a number of times. The PS4's interface, okay, as much as it's nothing special, okay, it's nothing special at all. You drag yourself all the way to the left, you drag yourself all the way to the right. But it's smooth as butter. It works. And if you're a consistent, not a fan of, even a consistent gamer on it, it's very easy to find where everything is. And Microsoft has to take a step. And listen, Sony's taken certain things from Microsoft. Microsoft's taken a couple things from them. And that's what Salt's saying. There was a time from the day we got the Xbox until today where every time, I remember a buddy of mine, I said it on the show, he goes, is it just me, or every time when I go home, there's a new UI? You remember that, guys, when we had that for a while? Yeah. Every single time you went home, it was a new UI. He goes, I got to get used to everything all over again. Feels like every 3 to 6 months. And he goes, that's annoying as shit. So, I mean, that it really is. So sometimes, as long as it's smooth, I do agree. So I think next generation, okay, is going to have a new and improved UI. And I bet you, I hope, I shouldn't say I bet, I hope they stick with it, regardless. As long as it's smooth, stick with it. We'll get used to it. You can't keep changing it every 6 months. That was something they did on 360 and they were successful. I think that's going by the way the dodo bird crap.
Hey, I'm with you 100% there, man. I think that it's been a little bit crazy how much they change it. And then it's also crazy how when they do change it, some stuff that I really like don't work anymore. You know what I mean? Like I use
Studio
or like Hulu, right? Like everybody knows I use Hulu a lot, right? And every time I go, because it's my live TV, right? So like everybody who's like, oh, Crap's on Hulu all the time, he's not a real gamer, right? For you wise asses that say that, that's my live TV. I cut the cord. I use Hulu TV. It's all the live TVs.
So you upgraded from Media Player then?
Well, Media Player is a good place to play like the movies that I own or whatever. But you know what I do now? I when you arg some of your content, it's good to use media player like that. Now
I use Cody, baby. Cody.
Yeah, but now that as I've gotten a little bit older and things like that, I use, what I really like? Movies Anywhere, right? I buy my movie physically, and then it gives me a digital code that also allows me to take my movies anywhere, right? So I can use it on a phone, on multiple TV, whatever. Like it's all right there. I have both versions. So I use Movies Anywhere. I've got like
what is that then? So I sign up for that, but like when you buy it, you buy a movie, they'll send you the 4K Blu-ray, and then you also get the code with it.
Okay, so so basically it ties together all the accounts from like Vudu, your Xbox, wherever else you buy movies from, right? So if you buy a 4K Blu-ray, right, and then you open it up, there's a digital code in there that you enter on the Movies Anywhere site, and it adds it to your thing, and you can watch it.
Now, do you have to watch it on the Movies Anywhere app, or can you watch it under your Movies app that you have with Xbox already?
Your Xbox Movies app. But if you wanted to watch, but like how how TVs can download apps nowadays, there's a specific Movies Anywhere app that you can download on any TV and use it as well.
You really can't beat that. So basically, for the same cost of buying it digitally, you get all of them.
Yes, and that's why I love it. I think it's fantastic. Yeah, it's
and it's what's funny? So. Not to put everybody in a time warp. That was Microsoft's initial intent back in 2013.
It was. I mean, come on, it's mad, and there's a mad box coming.
Mad.
It's mad. It's madness. I tell you. It is. So it looks like PlayStation 4 might have surpassed 90 million units, while Nintendo Switch broke 25 million units. Nice. This is according to this new leak or whatever. This is weird. Personally, I don't care, but whenever you hear unit sales and stuff and Microsoft isn't included, it always gets everybody talking. They must be, wow, 25 million. Nintendo's about to catch up to Xbox One, right? I mean, they must be, right? Xbox One is only at like 14 million. Last I checked.
I heard when it comes to sales, and you guys are not into it or whatnot, but when it comes to sales, that Xbox One actually doubled their sales from 2017 to now.
Oh, but when you double your sales of 100, you only get 200 bought. That's what I hear. Anyway, so
yeah. So I at the end of the day, we're on the doorstep. We're on the welcome mat to like the next set of hardware and everything. So people who are looking at like 90 million and stuff. You know what? Congratulations, Sony. 90 million out there. Good job. It doesn't compare to the Wii last generation, but nobody considers the Wii the winner of last generation for some rhyme or reason. So that's why when it comes to console sales, I'm like, yeah, whatever, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, I get you, man. Like, I'm not really big on those anymore. Like, I used to kind of get into it. Like, everybody knows, well, Microsoft's getting their ass kicked, so that's why you don't care. Maybe. But they're not talking about anything, so there's not really anything to talk about there. If they did, then I'd talk about it. But there's really not anything to talk about, and you just get the distinct feeling that in the future, all these companies are going to have games that are going to be playable on phones, on tablets, on PC. You know what I'm saying? Whether it's streaming or not, all these companies are going to have that.
About active users, man.
So, but I do think that like you'll see PlayStation stuff exclusively on PlayStation consoles and Xbox stuff exclusively on Xbox consoles, but I do believe 100% that we're going to start seeing like that. Just look at the reason why. Look at all the money stuff like PUBG and Fortnite make on the phone, right? Mm-hmm. It just makes sense. You can't just live off that same 100 million people that buy consoles every 5 years. Change is happening, whether or not people accept it or not, that's on them. But I'm sure the narrative will change when Sony does do it. It'll be the greatest thing ever, right, guys?
Absolutely.
Sony invents a way to stream games to a phone. Wow, amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what do you think, Mooch? 90 million, Switch at 25 million. What do you think?
I just think it's another month. I mean, it's this is kind of like I'm not gonna lie to you. It was a lot of fun to talk about sales at the beginning of this generation. Yeah. But we know Sony won. They won. We know that
it's over.
Holding second place down currently. Nintendo could very easily pass them by the end because we all said this, and it's the funniest comment, but it's so true. Nintendo Switch is like everybody's second console, and that may come off the wrong way at first, but hear me out. That's an amazing thing because when you're everybody's second favorite console, that means whether you have a PS4 or an Xbox, you also have a Switch. So, you know, you're going to get everybody to have, right? Well, Xbot, give it a month. You'll take a picture next to your new Switch. You know,
let's hook him up with Noof. He can teach him Noofonomics.
Yeah, Noofonomics is that's something. But yeah, believe me, the Xbot family thumbs will be on display in about 2 months. But like, you know, my whole thing is that I just think that we got to get past the whole, you know, somebody, Seth, who's awesome. He goes, what, sales don't matter now? They do. But Seth, you're here every week and everybody listens to this show and any podcast. We're talking about how Google's getting into the game. Amazon's getting into the game. We're talking more and more about digital sales. We're talking more and more about Sony and Microsoft getting into streaming. Heck, we're talking about Nintendo streaming games,
man.
So, right. So exactly. So my whole point is that do sales matter? Absolutely, Seth. Absolutely in the chat. But not what it used to be from 2013 because now money and revenue for games are coming in from different avenues. Go ahead, Salt.
Sales do matter, though, because if you look at Apple, it's been recently revealed that sales are down for the iPhone, which means that stocks are down for Apple, which is a huge company. But in this case, it's one of the most irrelevant stat lines when it comes to gaming because it doesn't tell the whole picture, right? How much money do you make off of hardware? Little to none. So what does that metric mean to your company? Well, it means that people are buying your system, but it doesn't necessarily mean that they're engaged in your product, if that makes sense. Right. You could buy a PlayStation, it could sit on your shelf. They're not buying content and they're not involved in the ecosystem. So that's the problem there with sales. Mm-hmm. And when I hear these sales numbers, I'm like, well, wow. I mean, it's such a bragging right for fanboys, but like in actuality, what does it do for you as a fan? You know, if we want to really break it down, the Nintendo Switch is killing it and it's going to surpass the numbers that the PlayStation is at this point in time. They're going to be hitting, I think, 40 million within the first couple of years, which is insane. So they're going to be smashing these numbers. So the PlayStation's doing outstanding, but the Nintendo Switch is killing those numbers. So it's just an overused metric, in my opinion.
Well, and I know, Salt, the quick jab, I got to throw up my Captain America shield for a minute. Here's the thing. I'm actually glad, and most people wouldn't expect me to say this, I was actually glad to see Apple kind of take a hit on the chin. For main reason is this. Same thing that we're all sitting here and praising Microsoft for the last 3 years. People kept on saying to me all the time, hey, Mooch, why do you keep going out and buying the new phone when realistically they're not doing the same thing, yet they're still killing it every year? And that's what kind of sucks for a lot of Apple fans, is that we all sat there and we're like, here's my thing. First of all, I don't get my phone to tinker with, okay? I work a lot. So my phone needs to work. I can't have this, that, the other thing. Apple product work. They work great. I love them as far as work. I will say as far as being ingenuitive and coming out with new stuff like they did when the great Steve Jobs was around.
Yeah, what happened when he passed away, though?
Well, I'm just getting into that segment. Thank you, Mr. Xbot in the front row.
I was waiting.
But no, nonetheless, what I'm saying is this. Look, these are the kind of kicks in the pants that companies need to get, because Apple's they're a mega company. Okay, they're up there. Google's scared of Apple, Apple's scared of Google, Microsoft. They're all on that same. They're all pointing their fingers at each other every single day. My point being is that when something like this happens to Apple, myself personally, I say good, because now maybe it may not be the next year, because remember, everything's already in progress for the next iPhone as it is. But a generation or two from now on the phones, they better get their act together or they will continue to lose iPhone sales. The thing about it is this. I just think personally that when it comes down to the video game space, like we were saying, to get back into it, video games now have different ways and different metrics for measuring success and income coming in, revenue coming in. It's not just before like it was in Generation 7 and back, where it was buy the console or you don't play. Okay, it's not there anymore. That's not what they're doing anymore. So we've all been saying active users and having the app everywhere, and the games are on PC. PC is Xbox. Xbox is PC. That's how Microsoft is moving forward. And believe it or not, that's one of the main ways that Microsoft is going to be able to fight Sony moving forward and fight them pretty well.
Well, so, I'm glad, because here's where I feel like Phil Spencer doesn't get kind of like the recognition he deserves. He is an absolute genius for what he did here. This is how he got that seat next to Satya Nadella, right? He let him know in terms of like Game Pass and everything about having the games on multiple devices, having it on the phone, you know, the laptop, tablet, wherever. And that right there, it took focus away from the console sales.
Yeah.
You know, he got Satya in there. He's like, yeah, let's
I wouldn't say Phil's a genius. I would say Phil did a really, really great job of selling it. Because let's be honest,
right there, that idea right there,
Netflix and things like listen to me, Netflix and things like the Epic games that used to be on the iPhone that did very well, and other things like Candy Crush. I mean, Phil, these metrics were coming in on the mobile market and being done over streaming with things like Hulu and Netflix for a very long time. Phil actually said, "Hey, wait a minute. Hey, we have a product that can do that across multiple devices. It's called gaming, and we have first-party studios, and we've already got we're a household name." So bravo to Phil for making probably one of the better sales pitches, okay, in the Xbox camp.
It got him that seat. It got him that right. Satya.
But I wouldn't exactly say that, you know, he wasn't the Omega and the Alpha when it came to coming up with this idea.
There's only one Alpha Omega in my opinion. So I'm not saying all that, but when it came down to it, let's be honest here. Xbox in terms of power was getting slammed left and right, whether it was gaming media, whether it was social media and stuff like that. We had the games coming out with Sunset Overdrive, Quantum Break. Everything was kind of like stacked against Xbox, right? And you know, Satya had to look down at the gaming division like, well, what are they going to do for us or whatever? And that's where, you know, Phil kind of came in and let them know kind of like the grander plan with that, taking the focus away from the console, still keeping the console there because it is important to the console gamer and you want the most active users, but showing a plan where you can get these games on multiple devices. You can show the active user base. You can grow the active user base of people using this service and therefore creating revenue that comes back into Microsoft. And that's what, you know, at the end of the day, ahead of a corporation, the main goal is where's the money coming from? We need to make more money. That is the main goal of a corporation. So you get the head of that corporation on your side, take the focus away from the console, but still have it a part of the ecosystem in terms of like profits and everything like that. And you're creating this whole like space for gaming. And if Phil didn't do that, I don't know what would be going on right now at Microsoft headquarters when it comes to Xbox, man.
Yeah, go ahead.
Real quick, the whole comparison to Apple and stuff like that. What I was trying to like the real meat and potatoes of my point here is Apple spends about $250 on parts and labors on average, give or take, like $300 at max for one of their iPhones, and they sell them for what, $1,100 now. Yeah. And so you can see the profit margin there, like cost to how much you're selling it. Profit in the hardware. It's not even close when it comes to hardware and gaming. Right. So that's why they have to find outlets to be able to make profit. And that's where software comes in and these services and online structure and all that other stuff. So if you were to come out to me and give me figures for, hey, you know, Apple sold this many iPhones and they're leaders, so many millions over, Android or whatever other metric you wanted to use, I'd say, yeah, that's outstanding for Apple because that equals profit margin. But if you come to me and you say, hey, Sony is the leader with sales and they're selling almost near 100 million consoles, I'm like, well, how does that affect their profit margin in the grand scheme of things? Because it does to a certain extent, because you need the hardware to push the software. But at the same time, that's where this active user thing comes from. This is why it's important, because it's a specific metric that you can measure. If you have active users and the amount of users that are buying Xbox Live or continued in their subscriptions, that's a number that's making money for you. It's driving it's a specific figure. But with the sales, you could sell 100 million PlayStation 4s and only 50 million of those are engaged in actively buying games or in your services, and that's what's making you money. So anyway, that's a long-winded
let me bring this up too, because you make a good point. Sony fans love bringing up active users when it came to the Wii, because remember the Wii sold like over 100 million and beat the PS3, and everybody's like, well, everybody's granny has a Wii and it's in the closet, but how many people are actually actively playing it, right? They cared about active users then, but now they don't, right? but they will eventually. Because if you look at who Sony hired to replace Andrew House, it's a guy who's into like games as a service and active users and stuff like that. Because you need that type of engagement. Because what are you going to do when Hulkamania? No, not when Hulkamania. What are you going to do when when Microsoft's announcing when they got this xCloud on phones and shit that they've got 300 million active users, right? How do you combat that? You're going to have to come up with your own, right? So the sales thing works now, but eventually it's not going to.
Well, and another thing, Crap, when we're talking sales, like I said before, congratulations, Sony, 90 million consoles out there. Good job. When it comes to your first party exclusives, though, so many people, they brag about like the 3 million within like, a couple days and stuff like that. But when you're close to 90 million people with a console in their house, wouldn't you expect your first party to sell like that anyway, and to sell even higher? To be really honest with you, you look at 90 million consoles and maybe 8 million or something, say 8 million on Spider-Man or something like that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you think that would be more with 90 million?
No, I can piggyback directly off of that, Xbot.
Yeah.
Super Smash Brothers had 24 days on Amazon, right, for the year 2018. It's the #1 selling game of 2018 on Amazon. The fourth game was Spider-Man, and God of War was 9th on the list, and that had how much time in 2018? So the metrics are there, and you could argue back and forth. Well, first party that and first party that. It's just like Nintendo. The amount of consoles they have out there in the wilds around 30 million right now, and they had the #1 selling game on Amazon with 24 days on the market. So yes,
Brother,
it is an issue.
What these console sales really mean.
Yes.
It's about the software at the end of the day. And when Nintendo, huge shout out to Nintendo for doing that. I do know when it comes to Nintendo first party, their Marios, their Smash Brothers, their Zeldas, like nothing else out there, man.
And they never drop price ever.
No, ever.
There'll be a sale and it's like $49.99 and $99. You know what I mean? It's like they never drop the price. Like I said, and I told this to Mooch before. I was like, if I wanted to go to GameStop while it still exists and trade in new Super Mario Brothers Wii for it, they'd still give me $30 for it. Yeah. Because they sell those games for an insane amount of money, and it's always funny to see that. Hey, we're close to 200 likes. Let's get the 200 likes, guys. I really appreciate it. It does mean a lot. Mooch, one of your favorite new people, Matt Priscatella.
Yes,
we know it.
Yes,
he's like one of your favorite people. He's got the Swami hat on, the crystal ball. Yeah. He's talking about Xbox One, PS4. He says both systems have done well in the US, but 2019 is going to be a transition year as we go into the next gen. And he's forecasting that in 2019, both the PS4 and the Xbox One are going to drop in sales drastically. He believes it's going to be a transitional year for both. And he forecasts both the PS4 and Xbox One unit sales to decline in the single-digit percentages next year, but more because we're nearing the latter stages of the cycle, and he doesn't anticipate either making drastic moves on price. He says they've both done well, but heading into next gen, people are going to stop buying in anticipation of the new consoles.
Yeah, I think if you look at trends, him coming out and saying that, he can throw a plethora of metrics at you to prove his point. Where I think you've got a bit of a conundrum here is you've got Xbox right now and Sony both using the term 4K gaming. Yeah. And you've got a lot of casuals out there. I say this all the time. There's a new gamer every day.
Yes.
There's a new gamer every day. And those folks are going to go buy a 4K TV, and they're going to go up and they're going to talk to somebody at Best Buy or GameStop, and they want to sell them a console, and they're going to go, wow, 4K gaming? Absolutely 4K gaming. On this TV I just got? Absolutely. I got to have it. Yeah. And they're going to be cheaper. So they don't know that Anaconda's coming. They don't know if Scarlett Johansson gifts are coming from Jamie Moran later on Friday night. They are. Yes. But they don't know that. So my point being is where I think this time it's different, and it's okay. It's not a buy and beware for the consumer, is that we are going to have that forward and backward compatibility. So they don't have to be like, oh my God, I just bought a console and it doesn't work after a year. No, that's not going to happen to you. You're going to have plenty of usage out of it. So I don't necessarily, do I think it'll dip it may dip.
Oh, yeah.
I don't think it'll dip as much as he thinks it's going to. And here's my other point, and this is more important than my first, is Xbox is more than likely going to make a splash announcement of Scarlett or Anaconda and Lockhart at right and at E3. When that happens, you will see Microsoft's dip begin right then and there. Sony, okay, and this is I've been holding this one for a while. Sony's not doing E3 for a plethora of reasons, but I think one of them is the PS4 is doing very well. So why announce to the public? Okay, forget gaming, folks. Everyone in gaming, hardcore gaming is going to know, but the public won't know for the most part that the PS4 was also on its last leg as the Xbox One and Xbox One X. So PlayStation won't see that dip until the PSX announcement in December. So Sony will get another 6 months of sales.
That's a great point right there.
So what you will see is that Matt is right, but he's not entirely right. Yes, you always have a dip in sales as we approach a next-gen console, especially when you have the two corporations come out and they make the public announcement. So you'll start to see Microsoft's decline happen sooner, which Microsoft I don't think gives two shits at this point. They're anticipating and ramping up for next-gen. And Sony will hold on to that powerful lead until December, and then you'll start to see Sony start to dip going into 2020.
Tyler Green says, do you think Microsoft will have more big name exclusives in the future, and is the no disc Xbox One legit? You know what? I am going to have Brad Sams on at some point here this month.
Nice.
And we'll talk about that.
Nice.
About what's going on with some of that stuff. That guy gets some good information and has leaked some good stuff. And he's the first one to know to say, because he was the one that leaked that Xbox was going to get some kind of dongle. Remember that, Mooch?
Yes, I do.
Like, and then they had like 500,000 of these things ready to go, and then they canceled it last minute.
Right.
So, I don't know. Like I said, the discless Xbox One S doesn't make sense to me.
I think it's gonna come out, and I think it ties into what we're talking about right now. Because not only do I agree with Mooch, and I think Mooch made a great point with like when these companies are announcing officially gonna like show the Scarlett brand and the PlayStation 5 and how that's closer to the end of the year. So sales aren't really gonna start going down until around then. But I also feel like they are gonna come out with that that Xbox One S with no disc tray as well. So even if there is a whatever percentage of people buy into that for whatever low price point it would be, that's still sales that would kind of like diminish that dip going into the next series of hardware in 2020 as well. So that's another reason why I agree with Mooch. So you put that all together, and there's going to be a dip, but it's not going to be as major as what Stella said, man.
And we could still see price cuts for the S and the X as well. So Eternal Shada says, question of the night, both system releases on the same day, same price point, amount of games. Which system will you get next gen? Well, the system where I can only pay $9.99 down and play all those games. You know what I mean?
Right off the bat, man.
Yeah, that to me is what's going to sell a lot of people on Xbox. And I think Microsoft feels the same way. I do feel like Sony is smart. They're not stupid. They're realizing that Microsoft has these studios and they're going to have a crap load of games to release at the launch of their next console. Sony had all their late-end exclusives ready to come out on the PS4. I think they're specifically pushing back some stuff and going to make it cross-gen just so people can be able to have something good to play on the PS5 when it launches, because we're going to have Halo and Forza and new IP and, and what's Sony going to have, like Knack 3. So,
Oh, it is going to be so good to have a full-fledged Halo at the launch of new hardware, man. Oh, my goodness. I got to chill. I just got to chill, brother.
Real quick, are we talking about Michael Pachter or Matt Piscatella? Matt of those analysts?
Yeah, Matt.
All right, so it's like I get them confused because they're wrong more often than they're right. I mean, that's the requisite to be an analyst in gaming right now, right? You need to make outlandish claims that will never come true or be wrong all the time. I mean, Michael Pachter was talking about Elder Scrolls 6 coming out in 2019, and someone else is saying 8K, 240 frames a second. It's hard to keep up, right? So more than likely, if one of these people make a prediction, it will be wrong, and I think this is going to be right up that alley. I think PlayStation's going to take a dip. Obviously, with the game lineup they have and how many consoles are out in the wild, I think the Xbox is actually going to increase the amount of sales that they have because of the Xbox One X, and the Nintendo Switch will outsell both of the consoles throughout the year, more than likely. So
interesting.
Yep.
I like the sound. You know what? I'm agreeing with you. I like talking about some of these guys just because we do a podcast. And so,
it's true. I'm just digging on them. You know.
Yeah, I hear you. I like to do that too. Nemesis says Sony is obviously going to have Dream Daddy 2 for the PS5 running 8K 240 frames per second.
Oh my goodness!
Boom! Switch Gen 720 is going to be all over that.
Oh, didn't he got all the trophies for this last one that came out, right?
Yeah, Dream Daddy, man. Great game. Speaking of the difference between these two analysts, Michael Pachter was talking about Sony missing E3, and he's a little late to chime in, but he did talk about this. He said he thinks it's a one-off. He thinks they made a bad decision. He says, I think they somehow internally determined that money's not well spent, and they're wrong. I don't know what they spend on E3, but even if it's $15 million, they get $15 million of publicity out of it. So I think they're fools to bypass it. And they'll be back.
That's
you have said this exact thing.
Yeah, I said that weeks and weeks ago. Listen, no matter what the cost of entry is, and even if you're showing this, if they wanted, you know what they could say? We're doing a shorter, make it a 35 or 45-minute stage show, and don't make a big thing of it. Just have it on stage, show the.
I mean, like they're past to E3.
Well, they've been. Yeah, you're right, and you're right, Xbox. But the thing about it is that you've got NBC, ABC, CBS, every tech giant there, all the gaming industry, the gaming media, all the media is there. The $15 million or whatever it costs for that, I think it's even more than that, is probably worth every single penny. So the exposure is what they're going to miss. And that's, this is what happens when you start to allow other companies to come in and kind of start taking over the mind share. So Sony is doing it this year. Listen, just like you guys are all looking forward to your Call of Duty getting its single player back next year, Sony's going to be at E3 2020, and you can almost guarantee that because this is giving them more backlash than anything. And there's no PSX show they could put on, and there's not, people are like they want to show it on their own terms. Bullshit.
Yeah,
people want to show off their product to the world. I don't care if you came out with a new pair of men's socks. You want everyone to see your socks. You know what I mean? Like, you got to buy these socks.
Hell yeah. Buy the socks, Mooch. Sell them socks to the people.
That's what you do. Okay. Yeah. You sell. And how do you do that? It's all about getting your name and your recognition and being a presence. And E3 is the electronic arts mecca of the year. It's where you go. It's the Super Bowl of gaming. So saying you're going to take yourself out of that and do your own show, I'm not saying you're not going to get decent publicity for that. Absolutely. But you're not going to get NBC, CBS, and ABC to show up where Greg Miller's got a tent outside.
Not only that, but do you see the hype train's already starting? E3 is tweeting about they're 160 days away. Microsoft's tweeting about this gets fans excited. You know who's not excited? PlayStation 4 fans.
Right.
Because they have nothing to get excited about. They're the ones that are damage controlling. Hey, we've, you know what I mean? Like I brought up that Microsoft has the better exclusive lineup this year, and PlayStation fans are trying to throw Medieval remake as a reason why PlayStation has a great lineup. Look, PlayStation had a great lineup last year. Anytime you have Gears of War or a Halo, that's a heavy hitter. God of War, Uncharted, Last of Us, heavy hitters. Those games aren't coming out for PlayStation this year, right? You're getting Dreams and possibly Days Dead or whatever it is. You know what I mean? Like, it's done. Xbox has Gears. People look forward to that game. It's a heavy AAA game, right? Like Sony doesn't have that this year. Like their games are pushed back. They have no E3. There's not going to be some surprise announcement. It's just not happening.
Yo, Crap. One thing just real quick. One thing I just don't get this. I scratch my head all the time. These Sony extremists out here, they're like, well, it's not going to hurt Sony at all. It's not going to hurt PlayStation. I know I'm a gamer and I prefer Xbox. If Phil Spencer ever came out and said, you know what, we're skipping E3 this year, I wouldn't be like, yo, that's a great idea. I'd be like, what the are you doing?
I would be saying the same thing because I look forward to it, not just from Microsoft, but all of them. So I would say the same exact damn thing. Hey, Goober, what are you doing? We buy these consoles, give us something to get excited about. Damn.
Right.
And anything else is damage control, because this is the #1 place to get PR in the industry. You're in Hollywood, LA, reporters everywhere. People make trips from all over the world. You can't tell me. So first of all, it speaks volumes to me that Michael Pachter is even throwing a number out there. This $15 million thing, that's pennies on the dollar when you're talking about Microsoft, because let's be honest, I've talked about this before, and there's troopers out there and PlayStation fanboys that were dogging on Xbox not having games and all this other stuff. But it's kind of like what comes around goes around. It's karma, and I don't want to see PlayStation fold, and I don't think they will. But when you look at a company that has to pinch pennies and not go to the biggest gaming event in the world because of $15 million potentially, that's troubling. And the fact that they're, cutting costs at Sony, they're potentially selling off the movie division. We've all known the history of Sony. It's not the best, right? And if they didn't have PlayStation, they'd be under right now, right? They wouldn't exist. So it's troubling to hear these type of things, because no matter how good it was in 2018, it's what have you done for me lately with gamers. They don't give a shit what you did 2 months ago. They care about what's happening next month and the month after that. And once games start not coming out, the ill content and the negativity behind it will just grow, right? And once E3 comes around and the fans don't have content and other people are getting announcements, it's just going to keep growing. And I don't care if next gen's around the corner and you have all this stuff planned. It just speaks volumes to me that you would miss the biggest event for your company because you have lack of content and hide everything behind that. In reality, it's just, hey, we want to cut, we want to save $15 million, so.
Yeah, shout out to Seth, who's a big PlayStation fan. Seth says, Mooch, how much marketing did Death Stranding get last E3? Seth, here's my answer, and I just typed it out to you too. It got enough to keep a game that has no story that we even know what it's about. It has the media going, I don't know what it's about, but it's got people still talking about it a year later. That's what E3 does. E3 has the power to make a storyless game thus far be in everyone's conversation and have actual shows based upon it. So that's my point. I'm glad you asked that question. The E3 is like what Saul's saying. It's what I was saying earlier. It's PR. It is advertising. I say this time and time again. Let it sink in, guys. Why does Pepsi and Coke or Budweiser and Coors, why do they advertise during the Super Bowl? They don't have to. We know who they are. Yeah. We know who they are. It's to stay relevant. It's mind share.
But
and if Sony decides, if Sony decides to leave E3 permanently, let me tell you something. You lose a piece of mind share. I really, really think that Sony won't do this again. I think it's going to burn them. Now, will it burn them indefinitely? I don't know, crap, but it'll burn them. They can still rebuild. You can miss 1 year. Everybody misses it. You want to miss a year, fine. But if they do that and they're like, no, we're just out of E3, we're only going to do PSX, that's going to burn them in the long run.
Hey, I agree 100%, right? Like what we've got to see something from them. Like, isn't it weird that we've got games that are coming out from Microsoft's and look, they're going to announce new stuff this year, right? We know that's going to happen. There's going to be new announcements. How's that going to look on Sony when they have nothing to show at all? Like this whole year, what does Sony fanboys have to look forward to? Not even a fanboy. What is a PS4 gamer an announcement? Like Sony, when's the last time Sony announced anything? Seriously, somebody let me know.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm looking at my gaming news apps that I do videos, with, and it's always Xbox news, Nintendo news. It's very rarely that you get, PlayStation news anymore, honestly.
Oh, no, they didn't announce 90 million sales yet. They will announce 90 million console sales, though.
So did you guys hear about, I don't know if we're going to do this as a topic, but Death Stranding as a episodic situation?
No, tell us about that. Go ahead and clue us in, man.
Yeah, Norman Reedus was in this interview, right? And I don't know if he was, drunk or something, but he was basically saying that the game was going to drop early 2019. It was going to be episodic. Because Kojima is all about this episodic situation, because Kojima really wants to be a director in Hollywood. If you guys haven't noticed, right? He should be directing movies because that's what he wants to do. So, and I'm just telling you this right now. If this is episodic, I mean, RIP to this game, because it's not going to work. I don't know what this game is already, but if it's episodic, oh my God, dude. You know what I'm saying? So that's basically what happened.
Yeah. No, that's an interesting rumor. I don't. It's hard for me to say that would happen or what. I don't think that would happen. I can't. The way that they've actually poised it, even though we don't know what the hell it's about, I don't see that being episodic. But then again, you do have Kojima, right? Salt to add to it. Yeah, he wants to do the whole directing thing. He likes that. But you also have Guillermo del Toro, who is a director. In Hollywood. So maybe they are doing something like that. I myself personally, I do think that we see things like Hitman, and you see things like, even though Telltale's The Walking Dead did win Game of the Year when it was first new to a lot of gamers in the way that they played games, you can see that the episodic thing really doesn't captivate and hold an audience for long. It just doesn't. People don't like that. People want to, when you buy a book, you want to watch, or you want to read the whole book. When you buy a movie, you want to watch the whole movie. Not many people like the whole. There's very few movies that get away with it, right? Let's think about it for a second. Like Back to the Future. They're one of the only movies I know that literally you were in the theater and it said to be continued. The hell is that? And then you have things like Infinity War, which again, you have to be that big to be able to say, we'll finish it next year. But notice they're not waiting 5 years. Right? But you're not going to go see John Wick 3 and they'll be like, check out John Wick 4. We'll see what really happens. So it doesn't work that way. So I think I'm with Salt on that. If it's episodic, it's not going to hold water.
I'm not interested in that damn game anyway, because I went back and saw some
I'm intrigued, but I'm not over the top.
Go look at the gameplay. The actual gameplay is a guy walking around with a weird thing on his back. Like, that doesn't look fun at all to me. It does.
I mean, right now it looks like a Norman Reedus, playing the part of like something from what was that game there from our good friend there that went into hiding for a while?
Sean Murray.
Yes, it kind of looks like that game where you're on one planet and you're just walking around with a large backpack.
Xbox One X saved that game. I tell you what.
I'll tell you, he went back to the drawing board and did his homework. So bravo to him.
He did. That game's pretty good. We played it together and with some other people.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
It was. It really was.
Without the ability to play that with other people, I don't think it would be nearly as fun. Though,
I can see that.
So hey, hit that like button, guys. We really would appreciate it. So the Xbox gonna like this. The Halo Infinite campaign is centered around hope, mystery, and wonder. So Halo games, obviously,
the foundation of Halo. Go.
Yeah, exactly. So now that well, listen. They're promising a lot of different things, right? Because obviously Halo 5 had some disappointing parts. I didn't hate the whole thing, but it was disappointing when you look at, I thought the story really grew with 4. And even though people didn't like that multiplayer, I liked the story a lot in 4. So this is what 343 said. At 343, we take time to look back at ourselves and Halo and how we promoted Halo in the past. One thing we really looked at was how Halo has been marketed. Obviously, remember how piss poor they marketed Halo 5? Like Master Chief is a bad guy and they're hunting him down. There's going to be this big fight.
Yeah.
And then it never really happened.
Never
anyway, he says, one thing we really wanted to change and coming out with Infinite was perception. Instead of starting around fear, with Halo 4 and 5, we really wanted to focus on Infinite's campaign around hope. We really wanted to have more hope, more mystery, more wonder, more agency, more heroism, and more symbolism in the trailer. We really wanted to focus on that feeling of being able to have a living world at your fingertips and get back to what Halo 1 was about. So our next steps were, how do we turn fear to hope? Our North Star became, we wanted to leave the audience believing that this place is a place where players want to live, explore, and fight for. They've also mentioned 4-player co-op is back. It's going to be obviously using this new engine or whatever. So it does sound like they have
local.
Yes.
Screen.
Yes. So it does look like they're going to have some cool stuff. Xbox, you're the resident Halo dude. What do you think about all this Halo stuff?
Well, right off the bat, I'm going to take all my eggs and I'm going to put it into this basket. Halo Infinite will definitely be an open world Halo experience. You heard when they talked about, on your missions and exploring and stuff like that. And
Yes.
even the name Infinite kind of means like infinite possibilities. You can look out there and be like, man, I can go there, I can go there, I can go there.
Good call.
Right? And that right there would definitely bring it back to the original Halo. How many people out there in the chat, definitely hit up the chat on this. How many people remember when you first played Halo? You thought this game was so huge, the structures and everything. I know I always thought when I was inside the underground facilities, like, damn, I really want to go all the way down there and see what's down there. You look up and it's like huge, like the structure's absolutely huge. You wanted to explore everything in that game. You couldn't necessarily do that, but that's definitely bringing back what that feeling was when you first played the first Halo. And I'm excited for that. Not only that, I was a little worried about them saying going back to their roots, but I also believe that I'm not sure if it was Frank or Kiki or one of them, but basically one of the developers were saying that pretty much the Spartan abilities will still be there, and they're going to evolve them. When it comes to the look of Master Chief's armor, they're talking about upgrading the armor to make it look like the way you want it to look, kind of like they did in Halo Reach. So, like, when you bring everything together, this could possibly be the biggest and best Halo they have ever made. I cannot wait. And I can almost guarantee that they are going to launch it when the new hardware comes out. Can you imagine having Halo? First off, it's a flagship, but being like, yeah, it's an open world game and it's bringing you back to when you like first played Halo, and you can design the armor and upgrade the armor as you see fit, and it's still quick like Halo 5. I am so down for this, man. This is I can't wait. Can we get to 2020 yet? Let's go, man. Skip 2019.
Exactly. Look, they knew that Halo was in a weird spot. They're taking extra time, which Mooch again was right, and I have no problem saying that because he was saying that a year and a half ago, that Halo 5 wouldn't come out in 2018 or 2019. He's like, let them take all the time they need, So they needed to do that. They needed to get people excited about this franchise again. Sort of what they're doing with Gears as well. That's going to be more open world. That's going to have give you the ability to do things that none of the other games have done. And I think that's the right call. Mooch, what do you think about this? Because we like Halo, but
absolutely,
we kind of like the story more.
Yeah.
The multiplayer is fun, but I usually only play that with friends in private lobbies.
Yeah.
So
I got to agree with you. I mean, it's funny because you say this, it almost feels taboo to say it, but for me, Halo and even Gears, I will say this generation that Gears went to a 50-50 for me. Gears has always been more story-based for me.
Yeah.
In my past. This year, it's definitely 50-50 with Gears 4 because I thought Gears 4 online was just amazing.
It was amazing. The online on that is fantastic. It's great.
It's fantastic. I will say this much, though. Halo Infinite is what's going to bring me back to Halo.
Yeah.
And it's funny because I say that almost walking in blindly because we don't know a whole lot about it. I know, and don't get me wrong, bravo to Xbot for doing probably one of the best sales pitches. And when he was talking about Frank and Kiki, I didn't know if he was talking about 343 employees or the old Beach Boys.
I know, right?
So anyways, I bravo to Xbot for that. But I think that they needed this time. The new engine was crucial. I think a lot of games need a new engine. But bravo to Halo and the 343 team for having the guts to sit there and reboot and do this. And like you said, Crap, there was nothing truly wrong with Halo 5. But there was a couple of the story parts where you're like, you lost complete and utter attraction to where they were going with it.
Yeah, well,
and I just felt like I was going through the motions.
Yeah, like here's the thing, right? I liked what they did with Cortana, and like it was an interesting concept for the Chief, right? He's wanted. But then the little slap fight that he had with Locke, who I didn't like.
How about the same enemy fight like 5 times? Like it was just like, oh man.
Yeah, like
come on.
But within the story, if you listen to what was going on, the Warden enemy fights weren't that bad. And the whole twist.
They weren't fun fights though, Xbot.
They were easy. They were
they were boring.
Easy, That's what it was. They were too easy.
Let me All right, so some people in chat, I'm going back and forth with them, and I suggested that, you know, with this open world situation, you should add, you know, armor sets and guns that you can get in the world. And people are like, oh, so you want another Destiny? And I'm like, well, first of all, Destiny is not the first shooter to do that. You know, Borderlands was a looter shooter before Destiny. Yeah. So if anybody did it, it was Borderlands. But it doesn't mean that you can't, you know, do something because certain other people are doing it. What if you out Bungie? I mean, they're the ones that wanted to do Destiny, and Destiny's lore is nothing compared to Halo. If you see how deep it is, that's the reason why they wanted to make movies on it. They're making TV shows on it. I don't see any movies about Destiny, and I know they're, you know, one's been out longer than the other, but there's nothing saying they can't do RPG elements in Halo. It needs to evolve to be at the forefront of gamers.
They are doing RPG elements in the next Halo. They were hiring people for that. Man.
Okay, so why would it be so bad to have loot drops that you could collect in this open world?
Not bad at all.
You can have armor sets because they have armor sets in the multiplayer. Look at the cosmetics, the different.
And they do say they're going back
helmets,
to
the different colors.
They said that Reach people will be happy because of they're doing similar type armor stuff.
With Reach, what you had to do, there were certain objectives. There were certain objectives to certain pieces of armor. You had to do a certain thing in order to like unlock the helmet that you might want, or the shoulder pieces, or something like that. Okay. So when it comes down to it, that adds to the replay and stuff. We all know Halo is a replay machine. I don't care what people say about Halo 5. The PvP, the multiplayer, dude, I have over 3 months just in game on that game.
That's the multiplayer aspect to it. If you want to increase your player base and you want to get Halo back to where it needs to be, you need to have a situation like Destiny where you're having, I'm not saying charge for DLC or whatever. If people have loot to go after, they'll go after it. They'll be engaged. Like the Warthog, you can get different types of Warthogs or different types of vehicles that could go throughout this world. You know, there's social aspects that you could put into it. They need to evolve the franchise. Would you agree about that? Like Xbox, you can only go back and play Halo through the campaign a certain amount of times.
This is weird. I feel like I'm Mooch right now because I'm both agreeing with you and disagreeing with you at the same time. Like, I agree with you that they're going to have kind of like, I don't want to call them loot drops, but certain things that you do will get certain gear. If they want to stretch it into vehicles and stuff like that, I am totally down with that. I don't think the random loot drop, I don't think that is going to come into Halo. But when you look at kind of like the list of like armor pieces, they'll have exactly what you need to do to unlock them. Some of them are incredibly easy. Other ones are going to be incredibly tough. And it's like, how much do you really want that helmet piece or you know, that chest piece, you know, on your Spartan? And when it came to Halo Reach, I got to let you know, I wanted every single piece. Like I was that like dedicated.
So like, why wouldn't you think that they would have like different armor sets that could be different rarities, or, you know, have different like power levels to them? When it comes to the
randomness, I feel like when the randomness, I don't think they said they're going more to their roots more than anything else. I feel like the randomness and the loot drops and stuff like that puts them in a completely different category than what they're talking about with the game. You know, and I feel like when they're talking about, you know, catering to the Halo fans and bringing more in, it's that catering to the Halo fans, going back and pulling from the past and talking about Halo Reach fans are going to be excited when it comes to, like, you know, their armor and stuff like that. This is exactly what they're talking about. And I don't think they're going to add the randomness to that because it's going to make it something completely different.
I just think that 343 has got the mold or the foundation set for the PvP, because the PvP is outstanding right now in the esports situation with that.
Man, they should not.
They should leave that the way it is, and then they should, you know, get the PvE side to it where it needs to be. Like I said, with continued content, it's called Halo Infinite. If they go that route, this game is gonna skyrocket. I'm telling you, like, you're talking about.
I'm thinking with Halo Infinite, my bad, Salty, but with Halo Infinite, if they make it a more open world game, then you have kind of like the solid line structure of the mission. But if you see that cave in there, it could bring you to a certain side story. I think it's already at least been loosely confirmed that you're on a Halo ring. Which is cool. Not only that, there's something that I don't think a lot of people noticed. I know Halo follower noticed, but with their new kind of like their new drawings and their new animation for the Master Chief's helmet and his set, where he was putting in the AI chip on the back of his helmet, it was actually the number for Cortana, but with a -2 on it. So even bringing it back to the point where they created another Cortana AI for him as he's battling the now kind of like completely messed up Cortana, you know what I'm saying? The twisted version. So he's gonna have to get to know the new Cortana and kind of redevelop his connection with her while fighting Cortana, which is gonna be crazy right there. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like, you know, with the Infinite, they're gonna have like these side missions, these side quests that you find in the game on the Halo, where you explore, and that right there is where you might find like an old Spartan that has an old piece of armor or something like that, and you could grab it, attach it to yourself, and keep going. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I wouldn't be offended by any of that. I think it'd be pretty cool.
Great.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Put a battle royale in there. Sorry.
Put a battle royale in there. Oh,
I'm not joking either.
It makes sense.
Trust me. Hey, trust me. If you want to stay relevant in this market, you need to do it. So.
That's what and that's another thing. I know this is going to have to title this show. Mooch was right years ago. I said that when people are like, aren't you going to get sick of battle royale? I said, listen, it's not about being sick of it, guys. Here's the deal with battle royale, and it goes for Halo, it goes for everything. Battle royale is its own game this year. Moving forward, it's what's going on with Call of Duty. It's going to be a multiplayer game mode. Yeah. That's what it is. It's going to become the new team deathmatch. That's what it's going to be. The same wow factor that TDM gave us years and years ago is what Battle Royale is giving us now and for games going forward. And I'm saying this, Halo, it's all speculation, folks. So take it with a grain of salt. But as far as games moving forward with all of this stuff we're talking about with multiplayer, I truly believe that you're not going to have a lot more games coming out where it's just only Battle Royale. That's going to get old for your $60.
No, it's going to be a game mode, exactly.
But it's going to be a game mode in multiplayer, and it's going to tackle and beat TDM if it hasn't already.
I will say in Halo Infinite, if they are going open world, which I think they are, and I see the chat. Thank you for the support, guys. There's a lot of people who see exactly what I'm saying with this whole thing. It leaves the door open for a battle royale mode. Maybe not like right off in the beginning of the game, but possibly as an add-on. Because you remember with Halo 5, they supported that game for like a year and a half. They kept giving it new content for free, by the way. There was no separation of player bases or anything like that. Everything like that was free. Right. And it just caters to maybe a battle royale like in the future after release. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. And I was just going to piggyback off of what Mooch was saying, because I know he plays Blackout. I don't know about you, Mooch, but I don't play the regular multiplayer. I play Battle Royale exclusively. So,
me too. Almost exclusively. I got to agree with you, Salt.
Yeah. So that just kind of speaks volumes there, because it's not because the multiplayer is not fun. It is fun.
It is.
But the Blackout's more fun for me. You know what I'm saying? So there's both of those options. So imagine with Halo, you have all the content that they have right now with Halo 5 multiplayer, you know, and then you throw in, you know, open world PvE content, and then boom, throw in Battle Royale.
And I know 343 or Frank or one of the guys over there came out and said they're not going to do it. They made it sound like they wouldn't. But listen, in gaming, never say never. Here's
the thing. Halo makes the most sense out of their games to do that with, right? Like that makes the most sense. So I could definitely see that, coming
Imagine running around that world crap with that terrain. It'd be amazing.
Oh, I 100% agree. I think that's
warthogs with the guns on the back. It's
hop on, Mooch, let's go. Yeah, I mean, come on, you know what I mean? Like it literally like writes itself. I mean, it would be great. Let's see. So Sea of Thieves gets an enhanced quest system. I think that's pretty cool. What do you think, Mooch? Like we played Sea of Thieves. It's kind of fun.
Well, I agree with you. I think the game's getting better and better as the days go on. I will say this much, crap. No matter how much they keep adding to the game, you know what we do? Same thing we did the first day. We just run around. We kind of laugh while we're on the ship, right? And we come up with ideas for our show, and then we do a puzzle until we don't want to do it again.
Actually,
you know what I mean?
We found out doing the forts is much easier way to
that's
get.
True. Shout out to what's his name there?
Zalker.
Zalker. Yeah, Zalker's awesome. Dude. Great dude. He's a pirate legend. And yeah, he did show us the ropes. And it was a lot more fun. But nonetheless, it's Sea of Thieves. That's when it comes down to it. And I think the game is great for what it is. I think it's a lot of fun with friends.
Yeah.
But it's funny. It's a great downtime game. Right now we're in a plethora. There's a lot of people right now. Shout out to everybody out there on Twitter that's saying, "Oh, I'm playing like myself personally. I'm going to play a few more missions of Red Dead. Get that. I'm trying to do all of it." Arthur. One more thing, Arthur. Put the stew down. I think that, it's. I got to do that. There's so many people that are talking about Assassin's Creed Odyssey, and I have it, and I haven't started it yet. Yeah. I feel like I have not done my due diligence because all the games that are going to start coming out at the end of January. Going right into February. I don't have much time. I've got about 3 weeks left to kind of get. I wouldn't mind starting up Assassin's Creed. I don't know if that's going to happen. That might be a summer game I get to, but it's just, I don't know. Myself personally, I feel like the Sea of Thieves has got so much going for it, but it's hard for me to put some of these big games down to go and just kind of drift off on a boat. That's a big problem.
Now everybody knows I've been sick for a couple weeks, so I haven't but even before that, after I finished Red Dead 2, I have a hard time playing even Assassin's Creed, which I usually like, and there's nothing wrong with this new one. I think it looks great, but I just hasn't grabbed hold of me like I thought it would.
I saw you going back and forth on Twitter about that with somebody, and they're like, "Oh, I'm really shocked that because you're an Assassin's Creed fan." Yeah. So, but here's the thing. I'm not. No, and Salt, I'm gonna hand you the mic right now. I'm not an Assassin's Creed fan, and people are telling me, Mooch, if you're not, you're gonna love this one. So
yeah, pretty much.
Right. So I'm kind of drooling to play it because it sounds like it's what I've always wanted to do in Assassin's Creed without having to do the nonsense in Assassin's Creed. So I don't know.
I started up Assassin's Creed Odyssey because I have it. I think I'm at open world fatigue right now, honestly.
It could be that too. Like I'm just looking for something interesting that grabs hold of me, and I have not found that yet since Red Dead 2. And I don't know, it's a bit of a problem.
So, and then I think it's one game super fast paced, another one's just really story driven. But regardless of that, when it comes to Sea of Thieves, I've been playing with Ashtray, Titan Drago. I played with Zalker. I've been playing that game a lot, like just co-op, the co-op go-to game. I got my ranks up to like 30 on all of them, but the content is just it's either you're really gonna like that game and you have a crew to run with, or you're not gonna like it. But the additions that they've made to it are just it's a night and day situation. Because I did my game review and I said Sea of Thieves just doesn't have the content it needs. It gets boring real quick, and then they made a lot of quality of life situations in there. The roaming megalodons, they got the skeleton ships you can fight. They increased the amount of skull forts that are there. Player interaction is there. So like I read this article about the way they're going to be putting in these like story-based quests for the people that want that. And then the arena situation for PvP. So they are making strides to where they need to be. But I think if you don't like Sea of Thieves, you're not going to ever really come back.
Yeah, so here, I'll read you what they say real quick before we wrap up. It says, I think it's fair to say that Sea of Thieves at launch appealed to a certain range of players that love that free-form creativity, kind of having their own adventures in this shared world, and almost our quest system gives you a little nudge. But that's not the only thing that you chase. But for some people, they wanted guided goals. They want lore. They want story. We know that that they deserve that, but we've proven that we can do it, and it works. In the shared world and campaigns we've done around the Hungering Deep or Cursed Sails, where you put lore in, you put story in. We've had a team working on basically a new improved quest system around story and lore in this for a while now, actually. And it was originally planned to be the 4th update, but we actually moved it back to this year because we wanted to add and grow. We saw the potential in it, and we really wanted to do it fully justice. So they're actually going to have some of these lore-based story things here very soon, and I think that that's something that a lot of people are going to be excited about. I know I am. Like I'll jump back in there.
Can I translate that real quick?
Yeah.
We saw the feedback on social media about what was going on with having no story, so we pushed it back to really add more elements to our story missions that we are putting in the game. And guys, this is absolutely huge for Sea of Thieves. I like
It is.
What Salt said about the quality of life stuff with the Megalodon and everything like that. All that stuff is really cool. But at the end of the day, the source kind of like complaint. For people who played it and then aren't playing it right now, it was the whole thing about the story. So having missions out there where you can get into lore, the story of maybe, certain pirates, that the reason why you're hunting their treasure and stuff like that, that right there will get me back into that game. So I can't wait for that to release, because that's when I will go back into the game, see what they actually put in there in terms of a story. And if I like it, I'll be back sailing the high seas again, man.
Yeah. Exactly. And with that, man, our time is up. I got the gift from Mooch.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
that was on time today.
It was. Hit the like button, guys. Share it out. Mooch, what do you got going on? I know we've got MNC tomorrow.
Well, actually, you know what, Crap? I got to talk to you after the show. We may be able to do it on Sunday. So it's it's up to you. We got to see it. Well, we actually have to talk to Godang and see where he's at too with all the new additions. So yeah, it's up to. We'll have a talk about that. So MNC is either going to be tomorrow night or Sunday. I will talk to Crap after the show about it more in depth. But we do have Crossfire back on 7 p.m. Eastern time on Friday on my channel, the Mooch 78. Do check it out, guys. Hit the subscribe button. And you know what, Crap? Just to let everybody know in your audience too, I've done some good YouTube soul searching. I am going to start doing a lot of stuff in 2019 on the channel. So we'll see what happens. But go check it out, see what happens. You won't be disappointed. And for crying out loud, I yell.
The Mooch and Bot Show. Here we go.
There it is. Why not? No more podcasts.
Yes.
I'm full.
And we also got Salty, man. What do you got going on, man?
Hey, if you guys didn't know, I did an episode of Gaming News at Noon with Salty and Boom. It was awesome today.
Yeah,
did it on my channel. It's good to be back, knocking that rust off. You know how it is. So tomorrow we're going to be doing the Saltiest Gaming podcast per usual, 9:00 p.m. sharp Eastern. My channel should be awesome. Noof Nukem is back as a permanent.
Nice.
Noof Nukem in the room.
Yep, shout out to him. So yeah, tomorrow. That's
tomorrow.
Good stuff, man. Nice to see Noof back in the mix too.
Yes, and
Xbot, what do you got going on?
Yes, sir. Well, as usual, I will be on Mooch's channel on Friday for Crossfire. Can't wait to get back into that. Guys, I gotta say, huge shout out to the chat. And being on Xbox Nation, man, what a way to kick off kind of getting back into podcasts in the new year. I started here, Xbox Nation, in 2019. Not only that, guys, next podcast, I gave it a facelift. It looks new. It looks fresh. For people who follow the next podcast, I never get comfortable with the way it looks for too long. So we're going in with a brand new intro, brand new kind of display on the way we show the gameplay, the way we show who's talking and stuff like that. So you guys definitely want to tune into that on my channel, Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, which we all know Eastern is the right time. All others are just imitators. And yeah.
Apparently, I'm not sure if Crap agrees or not.
Crap died. What happened?
Muted.
He's choking.
And crickets.
Crap, you're muted.
I'm muted. I was agreeing with you though. So yes, and with that, I appreciate you guys stopping by. Happy New Year. Please like, share, subscribe if you haven't already. It's going to be a fantastic year. We'll catch you guys next time. Later. Peace out.
Peace.